Yes, the Switch 2 Direct finally happened. I mean, we've been waiting for a long time to get all of the official information for the Nintendo Switch 2. I mean, we've been talking about rumors, we've been speculating, we've really been talking about this console for about 2 years. And in all honesty, a lot of what they revealed today, we already knew from different rumors and leaks and things like that. But even still, I thought this Direct specifically was extremely exciting. They revealed pretty much everything that I wanted to know about this console, and they have a lot of really exciting things in the pipeline. So I just want to kind of spit out my reaction. I'm not going to script this video like I typically do, so I do apologize if I ramble or anything like that. But even though I think the Nintendo Direct or the Switch 2 Direct was absolutely fantastic, there was exciting games, there was exciting features, they revealed so many great things. They, however, deflated so much of that information post-Direct. And I almost have to wonder, are they losing their mind? It is absolutely, floundering what they're doing right now. I am actually a little bit flabbergasted. We're going to get into all of that today. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and start there, because most of you have probably already watched the Switch 2 Direct. I mean, we will get into my reaction here in just a second, but most of you already watched that, and the information that they revealed afterwards, that's the information that a lot of people still haven't seen. So what's happening here is that they revealed the prices after the Direct, which that in itself was concerning. They revealed the release date is going to be June 5th during the Direct. But they didn't give out any kind of pre-order information. They didn't give out prices or anything like that. And that became very apparent as to why afterwards. Now, the Switch 2 in itself, I think, is fairly priced. It's $450. I mean, you are talking about a 7.9-inch display screen with HDR support and 120 hertz. I mean, that is absolutely fantastic. This is going to be a massive upgrade over the original Switch, and I think also an upgrade over the OLED model. I know a lot of people were conflicted that this was not going to be OLED, but because it has HDR and 120 hertz, this will be an upgrade. That means it can support up to 120 frames per second, or even 40 frames per second, since that is divisible by 120. So I think that $450 price tag is fair in this situation. Now, if you want to pay $500, you can also get Mario Kart World, which they also announced, as a digital add-on. And that part right there is important, because that suddenly has become a fantastic deal. Now, let me go and explain why, because this is where things start to get a little bit deflating. They revealed that some of their games will, in fact, be $80. And, oh, hang on, it actually gets a little bit worse than that. So, there are conflicting reports on this, but right now, it seems like in the Americas, that will be for both digital and physical. So, if you buy Mario Kart World, you can buy that for $80 digitally or physically if you are in the Americas. However, unfortunately, for anybody who's over in Europe, you're actually going to have to pay even more for physical. You're going to have to pay $90 over in Europe. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing here. I don't really look at Nintendo games and think, yeah, this needs to be $90. I don't look at their games and think, yeah, this needs to be $80. We all thought that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to be the game that pushed for higher prices. And, it kind of makes sense with that game, because, I mean, just look at it. Its budget is probably just outrageous. And, hopefully the quality will actually, meet expectations. But I think that it is a game that could get away with a higher price and, kind of justify that. Mario Kart World, on the other hand, though, I'm not convinced that they can justify that in the same way, or at least from a visual perspective. Most of the Switch 2 games look like they're right around that PS4 Pro-esque level in terms of visual prowess. So, there is a stark contrast between Mario Kart World and something like GTA 6. In fact, Mario Kart World seems to be heavily inspired by Forza Horizon. And Forza Horizon, despite it being technically a much more graphically demanding game, is cheaper than Mario Kart World. Now, I will say this much about Mario Kart World, though. Based on the trailer that they revealed, it looks extremely expansive. There are a ton of things to do in this game. You can go in the water, you can fly around, you can free roam. The tracks look as creative as ever, so its scope is large even when you compare it to other games that might be a little bit more graphically demanding. This might actually be a rare situation where it's $80, and that doesn't necessarily mean that all of their games will be $80. Right now, they're saying as a case-by-case basis. You look at Donkey Kong as one such example, that's a $70 title. So we might need to see how this plays out with future games as well. What's the next Zelda game going to be priced at? What's the next 3D Mario game going to be priced at? Those are important questions to ask. Is this a unique situation, or is this going to be a trend going forward? And right now, we don't really have the information, because a case-by-case basis, I always hate that phrase because it truthfully doesn't tell us much of anything. I don't know. It's a little frustrating, I think. The Switch 2 Direct was genuinely very exciting. And I think people left that Direct very excited to buy into the Switch 2, only to see that Nintendo games, or at least some games, will be $80. And Nintendo doesn't exactly slash prices very often. So, Mario Kart World could be $80 for the next 7 years. That's a realistic situation. So, it's a little bit frustrating, but other than that, the Switch 2 in itself is still a very exciting machine. I really liked what they showed in terms of its hardware. It's pretty much what I was hoping that it would be. It's got 4K support when docked. It's got 1080 support in handheld mode. It's got HDR functionality, 120 hertz, which means it can run up to 120 frames per second. That is such a big upgrade over the previous Switch models. So it's basically the Switch, but more powerful, which is exactly what I wanted. And they revealed a bunch of features that we've all been asking for. You want chat mode? That's what that C button is for. Now, this will unfortunately be connected to Nintendo Switch Online, but yeah, Nintendo, welcome to the 21st century. We can actually talk to people online. Crazy to think that that's a thing, but here we go. It's finally here. Then they revealed GameCube games. It's coming over to Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. Fans have been wanting GameCube games for that service for years and years and years. The GameCube is one of the most beloved consoles of all time, and its games have aged incredibly well. Those are now playable on the Switch 2, which is absolutely amazing to think about. And yes, you can pre-order a GameCube controller on top of that. Now, in terms of the pre-order, I will say this. They are trying to battle scalpers on their website, and certain things, including the GameCube controller, you have to jump through certain hoops just to get it on their website. You'll have to be a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber, and I think you have to actually be a part of that service for a long period of time. You can't just buy it now and be like, hey, I'm going to pre-order it over on our website. That's not how it works. They also prioritize people who have played the Switch longer than others, which is interesting. But they are trying to battle scalpers, and that's been one of the big talking points heading into this pre-order period. Now, pre-orders will go live on April 9th, and you can pre-order it at other places besides just the Nintendo Store. So that's their way of battling scalpers, but if you want to buy it at GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart, or wherever, you can do that as well. Now, one of the features that I'm most excited about is Switch 2 Edition games. This was kind of teased last week. We talked a little bit about it, but yes, it is true. Various Switch 1 games will receive upgrades on the Switch 2. Now, these will be paid upgrades, but this includes for titles like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And in cases like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, as one such example, you're not just going to get visual enhancements, but you'll also get extra story-related content as well. So they are trying to make those paid upgrades worth whatever the asking price is going to be for. Now, we need to see that asking price because, $80 games, we'll see what happens with all that. But what they didn't reveal at the showcase was that there will also be free updates for Switch 1 games as well. So this includes for titles like Mario Odyssey, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Link's Awakening, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We've been talking about that secret fixable patch for years. It's finally happening. I guess the Switch 2 is the patch. But, we might finally be able to play some of these games with stable frame rate. That'll be pretty nice. So that right there is the feature that I'm personally the most excited for. There's a lot of games that I want to go back and revisit because they just did not perform well on the original Switch. Now, speaking of Switch 2 games, let's just go and talk about some of the most exciting games that they revealed here. And we might as well start off with a Switch 2 edition game being Metroid Prime 4. It and Pokemon Legends EA were revealed as cross-generational titles. Now, you can buy both of these games digitally or physically for the Switch 2, and that's something about all of these Switch 2 edition games. If you want to pick up Kirby and the Forgotten Land, if you want to pick up Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, or whichever Switch 2 edition game, they will have physical copies as well. So that is actually really nice to see for anybody who likes physical games. Metroid Prime 4, though, looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, this running at 1080p with HDR on the Switch 2 handheld mode. I mean, welcome to next-generation games. I mean, this is even going to have 4K support if you want to play it in docked. And, by the way, those mouse-like Joy-Cons, you can play Metroid with mouse controls. So, a mouse is always more accurate than just a joystick. So if that's something that you just really want to do, I don't know how comfortable it's going to be, but that is an option. They also revealed a brand new 3D Donkey Kong game. I mean, it's been a long, long time since we've gotten a 3D Donkey Kong entry. And while I'm not loving the new character design for Donkey Kong, it is what it is, but the gameplay itself seems like it's going to be fast and just chaotic. You can pretty much smash most things in its world. I'm kind of curious to see how all that plays out, but Donkey Kong, welcome back to the 3D world of gaming. I'm actually really excited to see how that pans out, and it will be out this July for $70, not $80, which is nice to see. Now, in terms of third-party games, they revealed a ton of stuff, whether that be Final Fantasy VII Remake, they revealed some Yakuza games, they revealed Hogwarts Legacy, Silk Song was there, will be releasing in 2025 after all, but for the most part, a lot of these games weren't necessarily new. If you have other platforms, you've probably already played a lot of these games. But what this really revealed is just that the Switch 2 is a very capable machine. I mean, it's not going to be as powerful as the Xbox Series or the PlayStation 5 per se, but this is a handheld. If your expectations was that it was going to be that powerful, then you don't know how this works. Visually, from what I saw today, this really seems to be more on level with the PlayStation 4. But the PlayStation 4 is a very capable machine. I mean, go back and look at games like Horizon Zero Dawn, The Last of Us Part 2, Red Dead Redemption, I mean, Final Fantasy VII. I mean, that's a great-looking game. Or, Uncharted 4. The PlayStation 4 is more than capable, and that's why we are still seeing games being made for that console, even to this day. So, having that type of power for a handheld, yeah, I think that's more than enough, especially at that $450 price tag. Even if you compare it to PC gaming handhelds, that's very affordable. I'd say the most exciting third-party game, though, that they announced was Bloodborne 2. Yeah, no, for real. I mean, this wasn't a PlayStation event, but From Software is actually making an exclusive Nintendo Switch 2 game by the name of Duskblood. And this looks like Bloodborne. Like, just the entire aesthetic of this game. I mean, there's vampire abilities and things like that, but this very much looks like a Bloodborne-esque title. The only thing is that after the showcase, and this was kind of a theme for today, is that we got some deflating news, because even though this looks like a Bloodborne type of game, the Bloodborne 2 that we've been asking for years, it apparently is a multiplayer-focused game. You can see From Software's post here, which says, "We are pleased to announce the Duskbloods, a PvPvE-focused multiplayer action title for the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2. Release is currently planned for 2026. We hope you look forward to it." Now, it is true that every FromSoft Soulsborne type of game has multiplayer implemented into it. They, however, have never been advertised in a way that they are multiplayer focused. So we do need to kind of keep that in mind as we progress. This could be more Night Rain than it is Elden Ring, if that makes any sense. Now, one last game that I just briefly want to cover here is a new IP from Nintendo, or technically a new IP. This is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. And when I saw the trailer, I couldn't help but think about Astro's Playroom. Just like that game, it's a way for Nintendo to showcase their new hardware through a series of games. But, Astro's Playroom actually looked like a good game. It was very charming. Had pleasing aesthetics. And B, that was a free game. This, on the other hand, is a paid digital-only game. Yeah, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but leaving today, Sony actually comes off as the less greedy of the two. And again, this was kind of a theme throughout this Direct, or really just everything that they announced today. A lot of the things that they're doing seems to be just ways to nickel and dime their fans. Whether that be different things to push people towards their subscriptions, whether that be the $80 games or $90 games in cases like over in Europe, the paid upgrades for Switch 2 Edition games, or with this, everything is going to come with a price. So, I mean, the Switch 2 itself looks great. A lot of the games look great. I was happy with everything that they showed today, but, that price is going to be a major talking point, I think, for the coming weeks. The question right now is, will this impact the Switch 2 in terms of sales numbers negatively? That remains to be seen, because this is easily one of the most hotly anticipated consoles of all time, or at least up to this point. So we'll see how all this shakes out, but I'm going to wrap up the video there. Hopefully, I covered most of what I wanted to talk about. I'm sure I forgot something, and if I did, I'll talk about it in a future video. But let me know what you all think about all of this in the comments below. Are you excited for the Switch 2? Are you going to pre-order it? How do you feel about the prices? Is it just too ludicrous for you to pre-order? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, though, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.